Welcome back to the California Conversation. I'm Tess Abraham. If you live in California, then you know that one of the main issues facing our state really is the rise in homelessness. You also know that this has plagued our major cities like in the Bay Area and down in Los Angeles. Well, San Jose's Mayor Matt Mahan actually has a new policy proposal for how he wants to tackle the homelessness crisis in his city. But before we get started, make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so that you stay up to date on all things California politics. So, what has San Jose's mayor actually proposed trying to do? His new idea is to make it a crime for any homeless person to refuse an offer of help or shelter over 3 times. Now, if this sounds crazy to you, let's back up. What brought us to this point? San Jose actually has the 4th highest homeless population per capita across the United States. San Jose residents named this as the main issue that they think that the city needs to address. Now, the city has been trying to tackle the homelessness crisis over the past few years, and they've been trying to use the channels available to them through state programs. So, their newest approach was they built this brand new 3-story, I think it has 204 bedrooms, free government housing for homeless people to go live in. It includes a community garden, pet park, storage space, and therapy room. Community workers went out into the neighborhoods, they spoke to homeless people across San Jose, and they informed them many times of this new housing. They also let them know that usually the barriers to entry that keep homeless people from entering would not be there. Things like you can bring in your partner, you can bring your pet, and there aren't even sobriety requirements. So it's a pretty low bar to be able to live there for free. Additionally, the city's offering services to help shift them into more permanent housing so that they won't have to live in the free government housing forever, and to even help them find jobs. So why is the mayor trying to shift approach if they have this great new housing and community workers went out and let everybody know about it? The problem is the response. So over half of the homeless people outright rejected this help and chose instead to live on the street. So basically, the mayor is now making the argument that if people have access to free or affordable housing, they should not be able to choose to live on the street for purposes of public safety, cleanliness, all the things that come with having a major homeless population. And so he wants to make it a crime to reject this help 3 or more times. Now, San Jose is just one piece of a much bigger problem across our state. California makes up about 12% of the population of the entire United States. But did you know that we actually represent a 1/4 of the homeless population across the nation? That is just stunning to me. It's not only that we have a large number of homeless people, but we also are distinguished in the fact of how many of our homeless people live directly on the streets rather than in shelters or in free housing. So take somewhere like New York. 5% of their homeless are unsheltered, meaning that most live in shelters, they live in that affordable housing, they're not living directly on the streets. In California, 70% of our homeless people are unsheltered.
You gotta be kidding me!
And this really is undeniable. You know this if you've walked around any, honestly, not even just major city, but non-major city in California. You can't go even just a few blocks without seeing someone laid out on the sidewalk, or you see tents everywhere. And my husband and I just experienced this because we spent a weekend in Santa Barbara, and Santa Barbara is just beautiful. We love going there. It's just a really nice place for a getaway. However, we could not get 1 block down Main Street without seeing a new homeless person. So we would walk and then there'd be tents, and then we'd walk and someone would be digging through the trash, and we'd walk and someone would be laying out in the middle of the street. They were just everywhere. And so Californians know that this is a big issue because we can see it with our own eyes. We understand that it's not just we have a large population of homeless, but we have so many who just live on our streets. So what has our state tried so far? Well, since 2019, California has spent $24 billion on initiatives trying to address and reduce the amount of homelessness across our state. 5 years, $24 billion. That is so much money. What have they tried to do? Well, most of the initiatives, or I should actually say all of the initiatives, center around housing. So if you've heard terms like Project Room Key or Project Home Key, those are really the main ideas of what California has tried to do. Project Room Key started during the pandemic, and what it sought to do was try to convert hotels or motels into affordable housing for homeless people to get them off the streets and away from where the virus was spreading. Project Home Key took Project Room Key and it just made it permanent. But spending all of this money and creating all of these initiatives is just one part of the story, because we have to actually look at if they have been effective. So let me ask you, within 5 years, if our government has spent $24 billion on these initiatives, how much do you think that homelessness should have decreased in order to say that it was worth it? Would you say that homelessness should have to be cut in half, maybe cut by a third, maybe just reduced by 10%? What would you say if I told you that homelessness actually increased within that 5-year period by a total of 30,000 additional people? That is so insane. That should be unacceptable. And I want to pause for a second, because I think we can hear numbers like $24 billion, or we can hear terms like taxpayer money or initiatives or whatnot, and they seem really ethereal, and it's really easy for them to just go right past us and we just gloss right over it. But let's make it tangible, okay? Think about every time you get a paycheck, every pay period, and you see that money is taken out of your paycheck to pay taxes in California. Now think about how you want that money spent. That money can be spent on fire departments, public education, parks, all the things that make your life better, right? And one of the ways it can be spent is initiatives to solve problems. So these are initiatives like reducing homelessness. That's a good thing. However, if that money is taken out of your paycheck and it's spent and it doesn't do anything, then it's fair to say that that money was completely wasted. So I want you to keep in mind, it's not just that California spent $24 billion on homelessness and it didn't get fixed. California spent $24 billion from your dollars, from my dollars, from everyone across our state, and they did not produce outcomes. But it's even worse than that, because the state was actually audited, and the audit found that it lacked so much documentation about where the money went, how the money was originally going to meet the goals that it stated. And so ultimately, it just shows that there is such a lack of transparency. There's a lack in our government of them even knowing where money goes. And so they're just taking our money, they're spending our money, and then problems worsen. That should not be acceptable to us.
Not cool. Not cool!
But while the California government has been spending your money in ways that are not effective, you can see real change in your skincare routine through the use of Amalo Naturals. Amalo Naturals uses high quality and clean ingredients in their skincare products. So all of their tallow products are made with grass-fed, grass-finished tallow. The fatty acids that are in tallow actually lock in any excess water, which is why it's able to moisturize so well. So these tallow products are especially beneficial if you have dry, damaged, or sensitive skin, making it perfect for really anyone to use. I can attest firsthand that ever since I started using Amalo's tallow products, I've noticed that my skin is super soft and highly moisturized. I personally love their lavender vanilla scent, but I have been dying to try their new vanilla latte scent, which I think would just smell heavenly. Shop through my link below to get 15% off your order and to support a family-owned business. They have so many products even beyond their tallow products, like clean perfume, goat milk soap, even a lip gloss. So check them out, shop through my link below, get 15% off your order, and support the show. So what is going on? Why haven't these initiatives by the California government actually been effective? I would argue that all of these initiatives, again, have focused on housing. So we just build free housing and then we offer it to the homeless. But there are root causes that have to be seriously examined and addressed when it comes to the homeless population. There are two things that stand out: drug use and mental illness. Expansive analysis from the California statewide study of people experiencing homelessness indicates that drug use is substantially higher in homeless populations than just in the general population. Common uses include methamphetamine, cocaine, and alcohol abuse. Plus, 24% of homeless people who were surveyed in this study actually acknowledged that their drug abuse is what led to their homelessness. And then, in combination with drug abuse, mental health issues are also prominent in homeless populations. Going back to that same California statewide study, it shows a really concerning picture, with 82% of homeless people reporting that they experienced severe mental problems. In fact, more than a quarter had been hospitalized for a mental health condition before becoming homeless. These issues, like drug abuse or mental health issues, then combined with homelessness, create a really challenging cycle to break for people who are experiencing it. And I think we need to address these root causes because at the end of the day, the government can just provide free and affordable housing. But if people have real issues when it comes to drug addiction, or if they're dealing with schizophrenia, then just giving them free housing, a nice apartment, a clean place to live, isn't going to solve their problem.
Sounds good, doesn't work.
So I would argue this is why we see our state spend so much on initiatives, but they're not addressing these problems. They're not actually helping to solve the drug epidemic. They're not addressing these mental health issues. And so they can just spend, and yet see an increase in the homeless population. It's really, really sad. So, circling back to San Jose's proposal, why would a proposal to make it a crime to reject help actually help homeless people if we're saying that the root causes are drug addiction, mental health issues, or other major factors beyond just needing free housing? I actually had the great privilege of interviewing Deputy District Attorney for Sutter County, Jeff Grayson, back in the fall on my full-length podcast. And when I talked to him, he gave such great insight that from his perspective and from law enforcement's perspective, actually having grounds to be able to enforce the law can help people who are drug addicted. So for example, he said it was a great feeling to be able to see someone come in, be arrested, be drug addicted and needing help, but then months later, see them graduate from a program, graduate from drug court, a renewed person, be able to take back control of their life and re-enter society in a meaningful way. So a policy like the one that the San Jose mayor is proposing would actually help homeless people because it makes them get the help that they need. If someone is arrested and they're drug addicted, it forces them again into the drug courts or into drug treatment programs, which actually helps to address the root cause of the problems that they're experiencing. Similarly, if they have mental health issues, then they're not just thrown in jail. They actually are sent into programs to help with their mental illness as well. And so it's about evaluating homeless people. It's about really seeing them as human, seeing what the root causes again for their problems are, and then getting them into the programs and into the treatment that they need. Critics of the proposal like to say that this is mean or it's dehumanizing or it's unempathetic, but I would argue it's actually much more empathetic because it's, again, giving homeless people the avenues for how to get help for their main issues. Real empathy tells the truth. So it doesn't just coddle them. It doesn't just throw a Band-Aid fix at them like, here's some housing, but we're not going to actually address what's going on in your life. It says, here are the ways that we can help you, and we're actually going to mandate that we help you because you might not see that you need help. You might not want help, but we're going to help you anyway, and it will be greater for you in the long run. I think it sounds like a great idea to encourage people to take responsibility for their lives and give them the tools that they need to turn their lives around. It is time for a new approach. If you want more information about the homelessness crisis or about San Jose's new policy proposal, you should check out episode 32 of my full-length podcast linked below. Thank you so much for joining me here today. I hope it was helpful for you as you navigate life in our state and that you even learned something new. You can follow me on social media at It's Tess Abraham, and I'll see you back here next time for another episode of the California Conversation.